All right, Drive Radio fans, I'm your host, John Rush, Richard Rush behind the camera. Today we're going to review the 2015 Lexus GX460, which is, and a lot of people would say this is the premium edition of a 4Runner, Lexus's edition of a 4Runner. Call it what you want. It is similar size and shape and dimensions to a 4Runner. Gives you a few more features that 4Runner does not have, and of course a lot more luxury. But let's get into it again. 2015 GX460. This car retails out, the car we're driving, at about $65,000. We'll get into the interior portion here in just a moment. Done some nice things on the styling of the car. It's a car that, driving it, I got feedback where some people really liked it, some people didn't like it so much. You're gonna have to be the judge of that. This is one of those cars where people either like the styles of it, like the style of it, I should say, or don't like the style of it. It does give the ability to have some really hardcore off-roading ability to it, raising and lowering of the suspension. It's got some locking differential that adapts to the type of conditions that you're on as far as the split and the transfer case goes. One of the things we're always quick to point out that Lexus does, Toyota does, is the fluting that they do around, certain body panels, mirrors, lights, things like that. We did leave the lights on if they're, they shut off real quick. Let me turn the lights on for you so you can actually see what the front end of the car actually looks like. Gives a little better look of the Lexus signature lighting, which they've always got something different in the lighting that kind of sets them apart. And in this particular case, you've even got a little L in the swoop of the light to match the front end. Again, it's got the spindle grille, which is pretty standard now in all the Lexus vehicles. They started doing that a few years back. Great car. Enjoyed this car. My son Richard, his fiance, their family actually has owned one of these for a very long time. This is one of those cars that you can buy and drive for, literally, you could drive it for your lifetime if you wanted to. There's really no reason why you couldn't. Take care of this car, maintain and manage that side of it, and literally this car would last you as long as you want to drive it. This particular vehicle for 2015 comes with a 72-month powertrain warranty, which is really, again, kind of a cool feature that it's got. Again, we'll get into the rest of it. Let's go take a quick drive. We'll come back and we'll go through the interior on the 2015 GX460. All right, folks, we're now going to take a quick drive. We'll show you a few features while we're driving. And as we always say, please go out and drive these vehicles for yourself. It's extremely hard for us to show you in a review, or for anybody else in a review to show you the personal driving experience. There's no way of knowing that until you literally get behind the wheel of the car yourself. Everybody out there looks at vehicles differently, myself included. A vehicle that I may like and really love, you may not like so much. And vice versa. You may love a car that I hate. Get out, drive a car, see how it fits you, how it feels, how the seats feel, how the steering feels, how the suspension feels, all those different things. But we're going to show you real quick. We'll get into the backup mode here, or the reverse mode, I should say. This does show you where you're going to turn, so it gives you the indicator on the screen, which is kind of a cool feature. I don't use it a lot, but I know a lot of people actually do. That works out really well. Works out great, too, if you happen to be hooking up a trailer on this particular vehicle, put your hitch in the back, and you can actually back up to the trailer. That's the really neat thing about a backup camera that I really do like. Driving ahead, one thing that we wanted to make note of, we'll talk a little bit more about it when we come back, but this does have a feature here where there's actually camera on top of the steering column, where if I happen to be looking off to the side, or if I'm looking in the back at the kids, it's actually going to notify me in case of a collision that, hey, get your eyes on the road and pay attention to what's going on. But we'll take a quick drive. Turn the temperature down here ever so slightly. Car's got a good ride, good feel. Lexus makes a really solid product, especially in their SUV line. I really can't say anything wrong about their products. The only thing I guess I could say is I wish this had the 5.7 engine in it instead of the 4.6. A little more horsepower at our altitude would be great. Some of you are saying, gosh, 300 is not enough. Well, when you're 5,600 feet, my high city's 5,280. We drive around here at about 5,600. You know what? We lose about 25% of the horsepower at our elevation. So, yeah, a little more horsepower at our elevation would be fantastic. But you can just see we went through some pretty good rough spots in the road right there. This car is still smooth. It works great. Fine ride. It's quiet inside. This is a body-on-frame construction, which gives you a more quiet interior ride than what a unibody SUV would. Thereby, you sacrifice a little bit of the fuel economy, which we'll show you a little bit later. You know what, let's just do it right now. So we pulled over. I want to stop and show you a couple of things that we just, we realize there's so many things to do when we drive these cars. It's hard to get everything in the video. One more reason why you need to go out and drive the cars yourself. This car has averaged about 17.5 miles to the gallon. I may talk about that a little later, but just in case I forget, I want to tell you 17.5 is what we've been averaging. One cool feature, I've got a little button over here on the steering column itself, on the steering wheel itself, I should say. and I can actually cycle through the cameras that are, you know, from a regular view, you know, on the screen to actually the cameras, and you can see, you know, how close I am to the curb over here. I can actually get a little closer if I want to. It really helps in a parallel parking situation. It shows me what's ahead, shows me what's to the side, and it shows you up here in this blue what's going on. I am in the auto mode. There is different modes to this where you can actually go to different, you know, different scenes if you want to, depending upon how you want to look at it, 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional, and so on. But anyway, it's kind of a cool feature. Cameras that help you look around, as I also noted, if I put it in the backup camera and I'm now seeing behind me, and then I go forward, I can actually see in front of me, and I can turn that off just with the click of a button over here, or go to just a full screen view, depending upon how I want to cycle through it. So it's a great feature, works out really well. And as you can see there, I'm looking now just at the side view. So again, some of the cycles that I was doing through the camera system, you can see, and it works out pretty well. So very, very cool thing. And we'll go back to the home screen and we'll continue on with the drive. But again, 2015 Lexus GX460, great car. Only knock that I think that Richard and I both have on it is the fact that we wish it had a little bit more horsepower, a little bit lumbering as far as how you drive it. I wish it was a little bit crisper, but if it had a little more horsepower, it would probably feel a little crisper. That's one thing too, folks, that you need to realize when somebody talks about a car kind of lumbering around, and sometimes some of the journalists and reviewers will knock a car because it seems like it's a, you know, kind of a big, you know, too big of a vehicle and it's not as crisp as it should be. What I have noticed in my own driving is a lot of times when a vehicle is underpowered just a tad, it will actually feel larger and more cumbersome when in fact it really isn't. It's just the fact that it doesn't have as much power as what it ought to. And some of you at sea level, you can probably disregard everything I just said because this car at sea level would probably work fine. That really has to do more with those of you that live in a higher elevation. But we'll come back and we'll do the interior. All right, folks, hope you enjoyed the driving portion. Again, 2015 GX460 from Lexus. I'm going to go through the interior now. We'll start with the back, which we normally do. This has a double type of a door. So you can open it with a hinge and it actually folds out, which I'll show you in a second. Or if you're just trying to get in quickly into the back, you can lift up the top, reach in. As you can see, not a lot of room here with this third seat up. We'll get into that in a minute as soon as we get into the back portion of it, but I just want to show you that this does have a glass top. Some people really like that. I'm not a huge fan of it, but to each his own. I don't like them because I guess as an old technician working on cars for so many years, I always found that these things rattled, and again, just me personally, some of you will really like it. I am not a big fan of swing away, you know, swing out doors. The old cargo doors on the old Suburbans that did it both ways, those I liked. This particular door, I'm not a huge fan of it. You know, it's not a deal breaker for me. I just not a huge fan of it. I like the ones that come up better, but to each his own. This is how Lexus designed this. You know, part of what I don't like is this, you know, this support thing that kind of sticks out. I don't know, it just, to me, it just doesn't have the cleanly look to it that it ought to have with a regular style of a door. But that's just me talking again. As you can see, we've got the right back seat down. You can kind of see that way, you know, how much room you get. Richard can kind of come around this other side and kind of show you what that seat looks like as far as leg room goes. Not a lot of leg room back here. There is enough room where you can put somebody in it. To put this seat down, you pull the strap, put the headrest down, and then we just fold this, oops, do the right button here, just fold this seat down. And of course it's beeping to tell you that the seat's on its way down. One thing I do like on the GX versus the LX, which we did a review of the full LX, the 2015 LX, which you can watch. The thing about that I didn't like, that I noted, was the seats come up to the side. They do kind of fold up into a cavity behind the wheel well. I like the fact this folds nice and flat. Yes, you've got wheel wells here that protrude, but that's because of the shorter wheelbase of this car. But I just like the flat, you know, getting the seats out of the way, having it nice and flat. They're just not there. You know, it gives you the ability where if you're loading something in and out of the back, if the other seats happen to be up here and you happen to poke them or do something like that, you run the risk of actually tearing the seats, doing things like that. When they go down nice and flat like this, that risk is just much more minimized. But at any rate, there is also a nice cover that goes across the back here. We took that out so you could actually see how the seats went in and out easier. I'm going to move that to the back in just a moment, and I'll show you what the center passenger seat room is like. But we'll shut this back gate, and again, not a hard gate to shut. It does shut fairly easily, but it's not power. You are going to have to do that all manually. All right, folks, now I'm in the back seat, middle seat, I guess I should say, not the far back seat, but the middle seat, the second row of seats, I should say. Now, this seat does adjust. One of the nice features I do like about this, I noted a moment ago that third seat doesn't have a lot of room in it. Well, you can change that depending upon how tall the person sitting here is. I can move up, you know, and even me, I could move up to here. I've still got room, indentations for my knees. I just added probably 4 or 5 inches of room now to that third seat. I also can recline up and down, depending upon where I want that to be. So again, I can slide that back. One of the things that Richard noted, and we'll show you in a moment, is there is a nice step here for the people getting in and out of the third seat, which is kind of a cool thing. Again, nice features inside, nice leather, nice headliner. This one does actually have the sunroof in it. They've done a nice job on the interior of this car. It looks really good. Temperature controls in the back, heated and cooled seats. Or, sorry, heated seats. I don't believe they're actually cooled. Just heated seats in the rear with temperature controls that are back here. You can actually do auto control on it also. A little wood grain here on the sides. It is a little, for $65,000, it is a little plasticky on this upper part of the door panel. Again, a lot of people wouldn't care about that. Just something I'm going to note to you. This is more of a soft touch material. This is very soft here where your arm would go. Down below is hard plastic. Up above is hard plastic. Tinted windows on the back. One thing also that I would have thought for $65,000, you had some sort of sunshade back here for your backseat passengers. A lot of cars now, in fact, even some of the cheaper Hyundais, cost-wise, have actually got sunshade standard in a lot of their cars. So just something to note, not a big deal. Again, getting in and out for a lady, this part is nice. There's a step here where you can get out, step right out, legs stay close together, which is a nice thing. Okay, so folks, we talked a moment ago about this side. It's much easier on this particular car to access the rear seat from the passenger side. You can see how much further this seat actually goes forward, allowing you to step in and out. This seat does the same thing, but not quite as easily and not as much access as that side. Richard, if you would also show him, you can raise and lower the seats through this wheel well. So Richard, if he was on the passenger side, could just reach right around and adjust those rear seats, you know, raise and lower those rear seats right from there, which is kind of another cool feature that the car actually has. All right, folks, now we're in the front seat, 2015 GX460. And I think I mentioned already 300 horsepower. We'll show you the fuel economy we've been averaging here in just a minute, but I've not been able to get over 20 miles to the gallon in the car, so we're going to be under the 20s and the high teens. Again, they've done a nice job on the interior. We talk about that a lot. Lexus does do a really good job. Soft touch here, hard panel up here, which I'm not a big fan of, but it works for this car. They've done a nice job in here. The center stack works well. Everything's arranged. One kudo, Lexus, nice big cup holders. I've got a really big water jug that I carry with me most of the time. It's almost like a jug, not a water bottle. Fits nicely in this cup holder, which is really a cool thing. Here's all of your things. We talked about this in the driving portion, but here's all your controls for up and down, crawl mode. As far as your height of the vehicle itself goes, your crawl mode, four-wheel low. Another storage compartment up here. You can plug in USB. Heated and cooled seat controls are up here. All your temperature controls are there. All the rest of the dash and everything is pretty standard. I'm not going to get into a lot of that because it is what it is. Adaptive cruise, all your controls are here. One of the cool things, though, that Richard and I discovered that this car has, it's the first time we've really experienced that, is this little thing up here on top of the steering column itself. So right here on top, that's actually, if you would, a camera that's looking to see whether the driver, so whether I'm facing forward or I'm looking off to the side. This has a pre-collision warning system on it, so if I'm looking off to the side, yet maybe a car has stopped in front of me, it's going to warn me that somebody's actually in front of me, but it doesn't do that unless I shouldn't say this, I never got the system to work, so I can't verify whether it does it, whether I'm looking or not. But what it's supposed to do is if I'm not looking, it gives me a warning to, hey, dummy, pay attention to what's going on in front of you. That's what this little device here on top does. We have not gotten it to work yet, mainly because I guess I'm always keeping my eyes on the road, which is a good thing. I'm a driver where I tend to not turn my head a lot. I use the mirrors and the side mirrors. It's just how I was taught to drive. I don't even use the cameras when I'm backing up into a parking spot. That's why a lot of this stuff I don't show you guys as much as Richard does when he's doing the reviews, because it's not as big of a deal to me because I drive with the mirrors more so than I do turning my head and doing all of that, partially why I may not have noticed how this works. But again, shift indicator. I do like the fact, and this is one thing that I do enjoy, maybe because I'm getting older, I like the fact that it has buttons or interface through the actual touch screen itself. And I think even Richard and his generation, I think buttons are going to stay around for a while. It just makes things easy to navigate. This also has Series, what's it called, Richard? Series Eyes Free. Make sure I say that right. Siri Eyes Free. That's an Apple product integrated into a lot of the Toyota products now. You can actually talk to the system, tell it what you want it to do, and so on, and it works really, really well. But again, one last thing I want to show you, the console, nice big console inside, And another cool thing I like on this particular model is these will move, you know, forward and back depending upon how big your cups are, whether you want more armrest space, however you want to do it. This thing has a great sound system in it. Works fantastic. Lots of headroom in this vehicle. If you didn't notice that, with me sitting in here, I'm 5'10", and as you can see, you know, I could have a hat, anything else I want to have on, and still have plenty of headroom in this car. And we notice the same thing even in the middle seat. Back seats are going to be raised up just a hair taller than what I am. All right, folks, one thing we're trying to add to these reviews that we do, we don't do it on every review, but we're going to try to do it as much as we can, is just kind of sit here and give you a little bit of an opinion of the vehicle, not as we're going through all the features and functionality, but just our general appeal and feeling of the particular car. Again, 2015 GX460. Here's the pros. Great off-road capability. Love the looks of this car. It runs well. It drives well. The functionality of it is fantastic. Here's where I think it falls short. I wish it had some more horsepower. I think it would even help out its fuel economy, which I think at 17.5 is a little low. And again, I do not like the back end of this particular vehicle. If you had a handful of groceries, or your arms are full in general, and you walk up to this vehicle, there's no ability to get a door open with your key fob without physically walking up, unlocking the car with the key fob, and then opening that back door, which is again a swing out door. And the reason why I don't like the swing out door is, let me explain why. We have a lot of wind here in Colorado, so if you live in an area where it's really windy, those doors can either be a blessing or a curse depending upon which way the wind's blowing that particular day. So it's just something to note. Again, I would not buy this car because of the swing out rear gate. It's just one of the things that I don't care for in this particular model. Outside of that, great vehicle, and we've really enjoyed driving it. All right, folks, hope you enjoyed this review today that we've done for you. And as my son always says, check out all the rest of the reviews that we have. Please make sure you go out and drive whatever car it is you're looking at yourself. Don't go off of any review that you watch, either ours or somebody else's or what you read. You need to go out and experience the car for yourself. But remember, we're on air, Drive Radio, every Saturday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. That's here in the Denver, Colorado market. You can catch us on the TuneIn app at 560thesource.com. Just look for 560 here in the Denver market. You can also watch us live on YouTube. We stream our broadcasts every Saturday on our YouTube channel, Drive Radio, all one word. You can also find us on our website at drive-radio.com, and you can listen to us live right on our radio station's website, which is 560thesource.com. With that, we're out of here. Hope you have a great time, and thanks again for watching.